Hi, Shane Watson here with Strategic Business Solutions. Welcome to training session 3, Building the Business Case. And as usual, I like to start with this slide that kind of talks about SBSI's vision of the things that you're trying to accomplish as salespeople. And today we're going to talk about this box number 4, help me with solutions to my challenges. So in other training sessions, we've talked a little bit about analytics. We've talked about how to build the total cost of ownership. And today we're going to talk about how we migrate that data from the total cost study into the ROI builders within the Clearviewanalyzer framework, and then work with you and your sales teams to build the ROI templates and how those are configured. What the ROI reports that we generate look like. We'll do a quick overview of those and kind of talk about some of the talk tracks around those different reports and things that come out of the process. As I always like to mention, I'll just mention this up front, we have created 5 video training sessions. Video 1, analytic overview. Video 2, the total cost of ownership study. This one, which is video 3, building the business case. And video 4, how to leverage the assessment tools within Clearview. And video 5, leveraging the RFP development tools and protocols within Clearview. So with that, I'm going to close this brief PowerPoint, get into the Clearview application, and show you how we build the ROI. So I'm going to open up this demo corp, which has data. We're not really sharing anybody's information here, but this is a study wherein we have activated all of the pillars of HCM for the study. We have gone ahead and loaded a price sheet that shows the costs of a proposed solution set, including implementation, as you can see here, the annual fees that are going to be proposed, and if we had any training or those kind of things we could also put in a contract period, and we have the ability through this pricing set up to finance the implementation if you choose to do that. Basically what happens here is all of the data that we collect within the Clearview framework of surveys gets pumped into corresponding ROI builders that you can see here as I click this calculator tab. So whatever surveys are activated, if we only had payroll and time, they're the only 2 boxes that would show here, so it's a dynamic build. But because we have all 8 of the pillars constructed, we're showing all 8 of those builders. So I'm just going to open up this HR administration builder to kind of show you how this is configured and how we use it. You'll notice that the ROI builder has the exact same framework as the Clearview surveys, and it follows the methodology of the total cost build. So you've got processing labor, the processing non-labor, maintenance labor, non-labor for maintenance, outsourcing fees, field labor, any one-time system costs that could be taking place due to an upgrade, and then the financial risk and opportunity section. So let's start with processing labor and kind of do a quick overview of that. You can see that we've got all of the resources here that were included in the study. So I'm in the HR section, and I'm looking at a director, 2 HRIS, 3 HR admins, the different folks. And if I open these up, I can see all of the tasks that these individuals do and where their allocation of time is spent, what the cost of that activity is, the associated load factor, which is the fringe benefit cost, and ultimately the loaded cost of the activity. Now I could go in here on each of these task lists and enter my percentage ROI. So if I felt like I was going to put in self-service and eliminate status change form data entry, I would put 90% here because I know that's going to be automated and nobody's going to have to do that anymore. To make this easy, what we have programmed is a default savings percentage column here. So what this does is it goes out and looks at all of the resources that are in the table, looks at all of the work items that have an assignment assigned to them, and it brings it back in a table. So I can see that auditing employee records, there's about $102,000 worth of labor there. Filing HR related documents and records, 63,911, and so forth. Now I can do a couple of things here. We do have some default settings in here, so if I wanted to do just a default, which is kind of a traditional outsourcing, if I select that and reset this table, it's going to go ahead and put the default percentages that I have. If I were doing a BPO, I could pick that. You'll notice that when I do that, some of these percentages increase because ADP would become more or less the department in this case. I can go down here and override these. If I want this HR communications to be 76% instead of what I had it, I can do that. And once I configure this table, I just simply click load savings percentages, and the program will push all of those different percentages down into each task list, so I don't have to load them one by one. Makes it really easy for the business consultants to kind of define work just using this small spectrum of tasks versus noodling through every one of the task lists. If I look at the processing non-labor, I can see the different items coming in. So the P&L undisclosed budget items, corporate overhead, and the facility costs. Obviously, if I were doing a BPO study, some of those might change, but if I'm doing a more traditional model, probably those fees are going to stay flat and be included. I can look at my maintenance labor, and again, same type of structure here. I can only look at the work that's been created, or I can go into each of the individual task lists. It works exactly like the processing labor. The non-labor items, I can look at the budget. I can look at the HR administration deployment configuration, which in this case is Workday, and identify that I'm going to sunset those costs if I bring in ADP. I've left the corporate overhead and facility costs alone, and then I can look at my outsourcing fees and see which things were identified through the surveys for those, and put in the automation savings. I can allocate any of these dollars, whether a portion or the entire amount, as a hard cost, so that those are differentiated on the reporting. The field labor is getting into some of the manager activities. One of the cool things about this section is I can look at this and see that managers are processing transactions in this organization at a cost of about 1.9 million. And if I want to see where that comes from, I can click this show formula and learn that they have 50,000 forms here that came in from the survey. It's 90% of those are allocated to managers. It takes them about 45 minutes per form to process it. I'm dividing by 60 to convert that to hours, and then we multiply that by an average manager labor rate times a 23% load factor. So wherever we have field labor, we have this ability to show that detail behind it, and then we can put in our percentage. This is usually always soft dollars. And same thing with one-time costs. We don't have any here. And financial risk. If we look at these, we can see seams and integration impact, the potential I-9 audit penalties and things like that. And if we click these learn mores, we have these little notes from Nucleus Research and other places that kind of help us explain those notes. And again, we can take the percentage and then allocate to hard or soft. Once those are all created, this data automatically feeds the reporting hub within Clearview, and we are able then to generate the reports that outline the ROI. So if I click this, this is the ROI overview that shows the total cost of ownership, the first year impact and second year impact. In this case, they're the same, but they would be different if I had one-time costs that might be eliminated in year one. I've got the financial risk and opportunity costs here, and then a very clear breakdown of the current costs, the estimated savings, what portion of those savings are hard and soft, and kind of what they look like in the first and second year of the deal. We break out the risk and opportunity in a separate section here. So I can look at something like payroll inflation that's 5,163,000. Look at the math on how that was calculated. This is very nice if you're reporting this to a CFO and you have to go into any number to explain it. This makes that very easy. All these numbers are also hyperlinked. So if I want to see estimated savings on processing labor, I can click that, immediately get an online index that gives me all of the detail I need to show them where I've taken the costs and generated savings against those numbers. We also bring into this the implementation cost, because to achieve these savings they're obviously going to have to spend this money for the implementation, and then this table at the bottom kind of brings in the net savings, the impact of the financial risk and opportunity, the impact of training and implementation, and then the bottom line. The couple of the other reports that come out of this, we've got detail by pillar, so we can look at payroll, time, HR, and kind of see what the impact to different areas are. We also have this labor impact summary, which I think is a fantastic report. It kind of helps them understand how their manual labor gets changed versus their core labor. So every task in Clearview is allocated with either an M or a C that distinguishes it as a manual or core process. We can show the percentages of savings that take place, what the current staffing is, what the proposed staffing will be, and what the manual effort will be reduced by virtue of the project. And that's then broken down by payroll, by time, by every section that we have in here. So this gives them a very clear roadmap as to kind of how to manage the implementation and what to expect post-implementation as they transition these resources into a new automation and service model. That's really it. Thank you for your time this morning, and hopefully this is meaningful to you and can help you get some of these deals across the finish line. Thanks.